Junior Game, la llave al entretenimiento. Adquiere las preventas de los mejores títulos, grandes videojuegos de colección y novedades. Aprovecha sus promociones al comprar tus juegos. Entra a juniorgame.com.mx, la llave al entretenimiento. Light Arrow Media. Estamos ante un título realmente prometedor, muy interesante, que lleva por nombre Lords of the Fallen. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, good.
Second day and second game. So tell us quite a bit about the storyline.
Yeah, so Lords of the Fallen's got a great storyline. The story takes place thousands of years ago. It's an old story, but a long time ago, thousands of years ago, mankind banished and defeated the evil god and his evil demonic forces and his army, and so they was trapped underneath. And so they thought, for a while that they could banish evil and that they can get rid of it. And so anyone that creates or commits any kind of deadly sins, they get marked. So you'll see here on Harkin, they'll get one of these marks of the runic alphabet under it. So very noticeable, you can't hide it. And so basically you're outcasted from society once you start getting marked up. So the fact that Harkin has a face full of tattoos means he's a pretty bad guy, and he's done some bad things in his life.
Yeah, it means like a warning bar in his front.
He's basically got warning signs all over his face. So he's definitely a bad guy. You definitely don't want to mess with him. But it makes him the perfect man for the job because for untold reasons, and you'll find out as you play the game, the fallen god is trying to rise up again. So he's reached his hand out, and you see his hand go through and make those mountains. So you see the fingers of his hand. That's the hand of God mountains. We don't know why he's rising up, but he is, and he's calling on his army to come help him. So the army, the commanders of his demonic forces are his lords. So they're the lords of the fallen god, lords of the fallen. So they're coming back, and mankind has no hope, but other than to task Harkin to kind of help and banish the evil god back down again. So it takes evil to fight evil.
So this guy doesn't look like he has a lot of friends. So why does he have to defeat all the lords and then the fallen god?
Well, that's a good question. He might be just like, you know what? I don't want to do it. You guys already outcasted me, but in exchange for his services to help defeat the evil god, he would become free again. So he himself is fighting for his freedom.
Freedom of himself, not from a human making him prisoner.
So far, he's been in prison because of all the things that he's done. So he's fighting for his freedom right now to not be. So if he defeats the evil god, then he gets his freedom.
Okay, that sounds great. And we saw you play in the game, which looked pretty awesome. It's a next-gen game. There's any version for the actual or the last generation?
Right now there are no plans. It's all for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So, and do we even call it next gen? I don't even know what to call it anymore.
What is the next gen? What does it?
Next gen? Is it current gen? I don't know, but it's definitely it's proper to have it running on PS4 and Xbox One because you've seen all the visuals and the animations. It looks great, and it's definitely a part of the experience.
I have to ask you this: why you guys are publishing another kind of game, which is an epic adventure like Dark Souls 2? Because both titles share the same genre, but they are different in gameplay and art style. But where you guys are taking another title like this?
Well, it's definitely a great company to be in when you're compared to games like Dark Souls 2. There's definitely a lot of similarities. Obviously, there's thematic similarities. You have weapons, shields, armor, but there's a lot of unique differences between the two games as well. So, as we just went over, there's a heavy story involved with Lords of the Fallen. You're playing as Harkin, mankind's last hope, and you want to see how that story progresses and whether or not he will be able to save mankind and get his freedom or if he doesn't. So you do want to follow along the story. And so it's a very story-driven game. There's different narratives in the story, dialogues that you can select. They'll kind of change how the story unfolds.
So the key point of this game is the depth of the story?
Well, that's one compelling reason. The other difference, the melee combat, the magic, there are differences between the two styles. So this one has 3 classes. There's rogue, warrior, and cleric. And there's 3 main pillars. There's magic, there's gear and weaponry, and there's kind of like attributes and stats. Of those 3 pillars, magic is bound to your class. So when you're deciding who you want to play as, a cleric or rogue, your magic is bound to that class because it enhances your attributes of that class. But weaponry, gear, stats, and attributes, those aren't bound by class. So you can play as a cleric and pick up rogue armor, pick up warrior weaponry as well. So
those specific gameplay mechanics are for the magic. All the things you can change that.
Right, only magic is bound to the classes, but the other 2 you can mix and match between the 2. So, but definitely the combat when you're trying to look at Dark Souls 2 and Lords of the Fallen, it's very heavy in tactics. So it's a very tactical combat feel when you're playing Lords of the Fallen. You usually want to figure out when you first encounter, especially a Lord, what the timing is. What kind of attacks does he do? You kind of want to feel him out and see all his different attacks and see the timing of his attacks, and then decide how am I going to approach and defeat this Lord using a combination of the melee combat and your magic. And it takes some time to kind of master the melee combat skills as well.
The main character will travel around the world looking for this Lord, or everything is happening in the same place?
You definitely do go off into different areas of the world. So there's a lot of re-exploration too. So in the demo that we showed today, you were kind of playing in the old monastery. So as you kind of play and progress through the game, you go to different parts, but then you'll kind of come back and revisit the monastery again. And when you do revisit the monastery, you'll find that other areas of the monastery have now opened up or become more accessible. And so there's a lot of re-exploration of the different areas as well.
So you open these areas by getting some items, or like, what's the reason to make them open?
It's a part of the story. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but it starts unfolding, and then you start to kind of see other areas that are more important for your mission.
So at this point of develop, can you tell us how many hours of gameplay could it have?
We haven't really narrowed down how many hours, but you can definitely expect that it's going to be a very long game, and with the re-exploration, you'll spend a lot of time looking around and you'll need to spend that time because you need as much armor and as much magic that you can get to kind of defeat all the lords.
Something I saw in the game is that the environment is very rich. It looks very next gen, if you want to call it that way, because everything's moving. You are using physics from NVIDIA.
Right. So you'll see, like, I think in one of the, I think it was the warden, one of the lords, when he's twirling his massive sword around, just like fire effects coming off of it, embers coming off it. So there's a lot of physics going on. So that really enhances the experience and really makes it a better one.
Okay, so I have to ask you, when and for what console will this game be released?
So Lords of the Fallen will be out this fall, 2014, and it's going to be for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, of course.
Any chance to see it in another console? You know what I mean?
If it were up to me, I'd bring them for all. But as I mentioned, right now it's currently for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and PC.
Okay, I had to ask, yeah.
Of course.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mike Chang, for this quiet interview about this game. It looks pretty awesome, and we definitely are going to see it soon and check what else you guys bring it down here.
Junior Game, la llave al entretenimiento. Adquiere las preventas de los mejores títulos, grandes videojuegos de colección y novedades. Aprovecha sus promociones al comprar tus juegos. Entra a juniorgame.com.mx, la llave al entretenimiento.